In the vast tapestry of human experience, few phenomena are as simultaneously devastating and transformative as encountering someone with whom we share an inexplicable connection, yet cannot be with. This archetypal experience, one that has inspired countless works of art, literature, and music throughout history, carries within it a profound psychological and spiritual significance that Carl Jung's depth psychology illuminates with remarkable clarity. Far from being a cruel cosmic joke or random misfortune, these encounters represent some of the most purposeful and transformative experiences the unconscious mind orchestrates for our psychological evolution. The meeting of two souls who recognize something profound in each other, yet remain separated by circumstance, timing, or incompatibility, operates as a powerful catalyst for what Jung termed individuation, the lifelong process of psychological integration and self-realization. When we examine these experiences through the lens of analytical psychology, we discover that the person we cannot be with serves as far more than an object of romantic longing. They function as a living mirror reflecting our unrealized potential, a projection screen for our unlived life, and ultimately a guide toward our most authentic self. To understand why these encounters feel so significant, we must first explore Jung's concept of projection, the unconscious mechanism by which we attribute our own undeveloped or unrecognized qualities to others. When we meet someone who seems to complete us or awaken something dormant within our souls, we're often encountering aspects of ourselves that we have not yet fully embodied or acknowledged. The intense magnetism we feel toward this person is not merely romantic attraction, but recognition, a deep, often wordless acknowledgement of qualities that exist within our own psyche, but remain largely dormant or suppressed. This recognition operates on multiple levels simultaneously. On the surface, we may be drawn to their creativity, their confidence, their way of moving through the world, or their capacity for emotional depth. Yet beneath this surface attraction lies something far more profound. We are seeing reflected back to us our own creative potential, our own capacity for confidence, our own authentic way of being, or our own emotional depths that we have perhaps been afraid to explore. The person becomes a living embodiment of what Jung called our unlived life, the roads not taken, the aspects of ourselves we have kept in shadow, the fullness of who we might become. This projection is not a mistake or psychological error to be corrected. It is a natural and necessary part of the individuation process. The unconscious mind, in its infinite wisdom, uses these projections to show us what wants to be born within us. The intensity of our feelings toward this person is proportional to the significance of what they represent for our psychological development. When we find ourselves thinking, "I have never met anyone like them," or "they understand me in a way no one else does," we are often encountering the truth that they embody qualities we desperately need to develop within ourselves. The cruel irony that makes these encounters so painful, their impossibility, is actually their most sacred function. The very fact that we cannot be with this person serves a deeper purpose in our psychological development. If we could simply possess or merge with them, we would remain dependent on external sources for our sense of wholeness and completion. The impossibility forces us to turn inward, to seek within ourselves the qualities we so admire in them. This impossibility serves as a form of psychological protection, preventing us from becoming dependent on another person for our sense of self-worth or identity. It forces us to confront the uncomfortable truth that no external relationship, no matter how perfect it might seem, can complete us or fill the fundamental emptiness that drives so much of human seeking. The universe, in its infinite intelligence, orchestrates these encounters not to fulfill our romantic fantasies but to awaken us to our own completeness. The timing of these meetings is rarely accidental. Often we encounter these significant others when we are on the verge of a major life transition, or when we need to break free from limiting patterns that have kept us small. They arrive precisely when we need a catalyst for change, a disruption to our comfortable but ultimately confining way of being. Their presence in our lives serves as a wake-up call, alerting us to possibilities we had not previously considered, and potentials we had not dared to explore. The pain that inevitably accompanies these impossible connections is not a sign that something has gone wrong. It is an integral part of the transformative process. Jung understood that psychological growth often requires a form of suffering that he compared to the alchemical process of transformation, a breaking down of old structures to make way for something new and more refined. The heartbreak we experience when we cannot be with someone who has touched our soul so deeply serves this alchemical function. This sacred heartbreak operates on multiple levels. On the emotional level, it breaks open our heart in ways that expand our capacity for love, compassion, and empathy. The pain teaches us that love is not about possession or control, but about recognition, appreciation, and the willingness to let go. On the psychological level, it dismantles our illusions about relationships and forces us to confront our own neediness, dependency, and the ways we have sought completion outside ourselves. The intensity of this pain also serves to burn away the ego's attachments and fantasies. We are forced to confront the reality that life does not always give us what we want, that timing matters, that love alone is not always enough to make a relationship work. This confrontation with reality, though painful, is ultimately liberating. It frees us from the childish belief that we're entitled to have everything we desire and introduces us to a more mature understanding of love and relationship. Through this process of heartbreak and healing, we often discover reserves of strength, resilience, and self-reliance we never knew we possessed. The pain becomes a teacher, showing us that we can survive the loss of even our most cherished dreams and emerge stronger, wiser, and more whole. This discovery of our own resilience is often one of the most valuable gifts these impossible connections offer us. Jung spoke extensively about the concept of the unlived life, the aspects of ourselves that remain undeveloped due to the choices we make, the paths we take, and the limitations we accept. The person we cannot be with often embodies aspects of our unlived life, showing us possibilities we had not considered or potentials we had abandoned. They serve as a living reminder of who we might become if we were willing to break free from our self-imposed limitations. This mirroring function operates through what Jung called the anima and animus, the contrasexual aspects of the psyche that represent our undeveloped potentials. When we encounter someone who captivates us so completely, we're often meeting a projection of our own anima or animus, our own feminine or masculine potentials that seek expression and integration. The person becomes a catalyst for the development of these latent aspects of ourselves. The qualities we find most attractive in them are often precisely the qualities we need to develop within ourselves. If we are drawn to their creativity, it may be because our own creative potential is seeking expression. If we admire their emotional openness, it may be because we need to develop our own capacity for vulnerability and authentic feeling. If we appreciate their independence and strength, it may be because we need to cultivate these qualities within ourselves rather than seeking them in others. This understanding transforms the entire nature of the attraction. Rather than seeing the other person as someone we need to possess or be with, we begin to see them as a teacher, a guide, a mirror showing us our own possibilities. The relationship shifts from one of need and dependency to one of gratitude and recognition. We can appreciate them for the gift they have given us, the gift of showing us who we can become, without needing to possess or control them. These impossible connections often occur when we are ready for a major step in our individuation process. The person serves as a catalyst, awakening parts of our psyche that have been dormant and challenging us to grow beyond our current limitations. They force us to confront questions about who we are, what we truly want from life, and what we are capable of becoming. The pain of not being able to be with them creates the necessary tension for psychological growth. Jung understood that without tension, without the friction between what is and what might be, there can be no development. The impossible nature of the connection creates a psychological pressure that forces us to find new ways of being, to develop new capacities, to transcend our previous limitations. This process often involves a fundamental shift in how we understand love and relationship. We move from a possessive, ego-driven model of love to a more transcendent understanding that recognizes love as a force of transformation rather than possession. We learn that the highest form of love is not about getting what we want, but about being transformed by the encounter with the beloved, regardless of the outcome. This evolution often follows a predictable pattern. Initially, we experience the intense attraction and connection, followed by the devastating realization that a relationship is not possible. The ensuing heartbreak forces us to examine our assumptions about love, relationship, and happiness. Gradually, as we work through the pain and integrate the lessons, we develop a more mature and spiritual understanding of love. We come to realize that the person we cannot be with has given us a profound gift. They have shown us our own capacity for deep feeling, for recognition of beauty, for appreciation of qualities we admire. They have awakened parts of our heart and soul that might otherwise have remained dormant. This awakening is the true gift, more valuable than any relationship could have been. This evolution in our understanding of love often extends far beyond the specific relationship that catalyzed it. We find ourselves capable of loving more fully, more freely, with less attachment to outcomes. We develop what might be called unconditional love, the ability to love without needing to possess, control, or even be reciprocated. This represents a profound spiritual development that serves us in all our future relationships. The ultimate task presented by these impossible connections is integration, taking the qualities we have recognized in the other person and developing them within ourselves. This is often the most challenging aspect of the entire process, requiring us to move beyond the comfort zone of projection and begin the difficult work of actual self-development. Integration requires us to take responsibility for our own growth rather than remaining dependent on external relationships for our sense of completion. If we were drawn to the other person's creativity, we must cultivate our own creative expression. If we admired their emotional authenticity, we must develop our own capacity for genuine feeling and expression. If we appreciated their spiritual depth, we must undertake our own spiritual journey. The successful integration of these experiences often results in a profound transformation of personality. We become more authentic, more creative, more emotionally available, more spiritually aware, whatever qualities were reflected back to us through the impossible connection. We embody more fully our own potential and become less dependent on external validation or completion. Ultimately, these encounters with people we cannot be with represent one of the universe's most sophisticated methods of promoting our psychological and spiritual development. What appears on the surface to be a cruel trick or cosmic injustice reveals itself to be a profound gift, the gift of awakening to our own completeness, our own potential, our own capacity for transformation. The person we cannot be with serves as a bridge between who we have been and who we are capable of becoming. They show us possibilities we had not imagined, qualities we had not developed, ways of being we had not considered. Through the mirror of their being, we glimpse our own unlived life and are given the opportunity to begin living it. Through this lens, we can appreciate these encounters for what they truly are. Not romantic tragedies, but spiritual initiations. Not cosmic cruelties, but divine gifts. Not evidence of our inadequacy, but invitations to our magnificence. The person we cannot be with becomes our teacher, our mirror, and ultimately our gift to ourselves.